I never believed in past lives. Hell, I barely believed in this one half the time. But that was before the dream started bleeding into my waking hours, before I found the photograph, and before I discovered that the woman I thought was my wife had been lying to me for 7 years. It began 3 months ago with the simplest thing, the smell of lavender soap in a hotel bathroom in Portland. I was there for a business conference, nothing unusual, just another corporate retreat. But when I walked into that bathroom and caught that specific scent, my knees buckled. For exactly 37 seconds, I wasn't David Martinez, 34-year-old marketing executive from Denver. I was someone else entirely, standing in a different bathroom, in a different time, watching blood swirl down a porcelain drain that was somehow both foreign and intimately familiar. By the second week, I remembered entire conversations in a language I didn't recognize but somehow understood. I was speaking to a woman with dark hair and green eyes, pleading about something urgent. "You promised me, Edmund. You swore you'd never let them take me." Edmund. Not David. Edmund. I started keeping a dream journal. The woman's name was Isabel. The year seemed to be 1923. We lived in a sprawling house with a circular driveway and fountain. There were servants, formal parties, and constant fear. Most disturbing, Isabel was terrified of someone in every dream. She'd glance over her shoulder, jump at sounds, beg Edmund to take her away. But I never understood who she feared. The dreams became more real than waking life. I'd reach for doorknobs that didn't exist, expect rooms arranged differently. At work, I'd start introducing myself as Edmund. Colleagues gave me concerned looks. Sarah noticed too, but not how I expected. "You're different," she said over coffee one morning, sounding calculating rather than worried. "These dreams you've been having. Tell me more." Her clinical tone made my skin crawl. Sarah had always been supportive. This cold interest was new. "Just stress dreams," I lied, watching her face. "What kind of weird?" She stirred her coffee mechanically. I changed the subject, but caught her studying me throughout breakfast with an expression I'd never seen. Like she was waiting for something. The breakthrough came Tuesday. Walking past an antique shop, something in the window stopped me cold. A photograph in an ornate silver frame, a formal portrait from the 1920s. The woman had those exact green eyes from my dreams. But the man made my blood freeze. Despite the different haircut, formal posture, and vintage clothing, despite this photograph being nearly a century old, I was looking at my own face. Trembling, I pushed open the shop door. The elderly proprietor looked up and his eyes widened. "Good God. Edmund? But that's impossible." I grabbed the counter. "What did you call me?" His face went pale. "Sorry, you just look exactly like someone from old family photos. The resemblance is uncanny. The photograph in your window. Who are they?" He glanced toward it nervously. "Edmund Blackwood and his wife Isabel. Local wealthy family. They died in 1923 under unusual circumstances." The room spun. "What circumstances?" "Murder-suicide, according to police. Though there were always rumors." He studied my face. "Are you all right? You look like you've seen a ghost." I bought the photograph without haggling. His hands shook as he wrapped it. That night, I confronted Sarah. "Look at this," I said, setting it on our kitchen table. "Tell me this isn't impossible." Sarah glanced at the photo, and for 1 second, her mask slipped. I saw satisfaction flicker across her face, like a chess player achieving checkmate. "Just a coincidence, honey," she said, voice too calm, too prepared. "A coincidence?" "Sarah, this man looks exactly like me. I've been dreaming about these people for weeks. Dreams can be powerful. Your subconscious probably picked up on this image somewhere and forgot." Still that clinical tone. Over the next days, I watched Sarah more carefully. I noticed things I'd somehow missed. How she sometimes spoke with a slight accent. Archaic phrases from another era. Old books on her closet side about reincarnation, past life regression, soul binding. I researched at work, staying late to use computers there. What I found about Edmund and Isabel Blackwood chilled me. Edmund had been a wealthy businessman. He married Isabel Fontaine in 1921, deeply in love by all accounts. But before their deaths, Neighbors reported screaming from the estate. Servants quit without explanation. Isabel was seen looking increasingly haggard and frightened. Official reports said Edmund poisoned his wife then killed himself, but details never made sense. No struggle signs, no suicide note. Witnesses claimed to see a third person leaving that night. Most chilling, a former servant said Isabel believed someone was stealing pieces of her soul and fading away bit by bit. She'd begged Edmund to take her away, but he seemed powerless. The servant's name appeared once, Sarah Fontaine, Isabel's younger sister. I sat in my car, staring at that name on my laptop, my world tilting. Sarah Fontaine, the same Sarah who'd convinced me to marry her 7 years ago. When I got home, Sarah waited in the living room with tea. "You've been doing research," she said. Not a question. I set down my briefcase slowly. "Who are you?" She smiled, nothing like the warm smile I'd fallen in love with. This was cold, predatory, ancient. "I'm exactly who I've always been, darling. You're Sarah, Isabel's little sister. I've been waiting so long for Edmund to come back." The teacup rattled as she set it down. Some souls are too strong to stay buried. They claw back, lifetime after lifetime, seeking what they lost. But Edmund, you never understood what really happened in 1923. "What are you talking about?" "Isabel didn't die from poison. She died because I took everything, her life force, memories, essence, and made them mine. It's called soul harvesting. Very effective when done properly." She moved toward me with fluid grace. But there was a problem. When someone dies by soul harvesting, their consciousness doesn't move on cleanly. Pieces get left behind. Echoes. Those echoes are drawn to compatible vessels. I backed toward the door, but she was already blocking my exit. "I've been cultivating this life for 7 years, David. Building perfect conditions for Edmund's soul to fully manifest. Moving to Denver where psychic energy is right. Decorating with objects to trigger subconscious memories. Even our marriage date, the exact anniversary of Edmund and Isabel's death. You're insane." "Am I?" Her face seemed to shift, becoming someone younger with cruel eyes. "Then explain the dreams. The photograph. How you knew estate details never published anywhere." She was right, and that terrified me. "The process is almost complete. Your consciousness has been softening for months, becoming receptive to Edmund's memories. Soon David Martinez will fade entirely, and my beloved Edmund will take his place. Then you kill me like you killed them?" Sarah laughed like breaking glass. "Death was never the goal. I'm going to keep you. Forever. Like I kept pieces of Isabel all these years. She's still in here." She tapped her temple, screaming. Her eyes changed for 1 second, became terrified, desperate, familiar. Isabel's eyes, trapped behind Sarah's face. She says hello. "She's been looking forward to seeing you again." I ran. One moment I was in our living room listening to my wife reveal herself as a century-old monster. The next I was sprinting through our backyard, crashing through fences, running blindly through suburban streets. Behind me, Sarah called my name in a voice older and more powerful than hers, seeming to come from everywhere. I collapsed behind a 24-hour diner 3 miles away. My phone buzzed constantly, texts from Sarah's number, but not in English. In that dream language I somehow understood. "Come home, Edmund. Let me finish what I started. Isabel is waiting." I turned off the phone. If Sarah was telling the truth, if I was Edmund's reincarnation, if she'd killed Isabel and stolen her soul, going home meant death or worse. But if she was lying, I was abandoning my life based on paranoid fantasies. The dreams were too vivid, the photograph too exact, Sarah's knowledge too specific. Deep down, Edmund's memories felt more real than my own. I spent the night in the diner, deciding what was real. By dawn, I had a plan. I researched the Blackwood property. The original house burned in 1924, but the land became Blackwood Memorial Gardens, dedicated to the tragic young couple who died too soon. At the park, I felt it immediately. This was home. Not David's home, Edmund's. I could see the house as it had been. 3 stories, wraparound porch, circular driveway with fountain. I heard Isabel's laughter from the garden where she'd read afternoons. I felt her presence, faint but unmistakable. Sitting on a bench, I let Edmund's memories wash over me completely for the first time. The horrible truth flooded back. Sarah had killed us with soul binding, slowly draining life force from one person to another. Isabel was the primary target, Edmund caught in the web trying to save her. The night we died, Sarah completed the ritual. Isabel's soul was torn apart and absorbed while Edmund watched helplessly. But at the last moment, Edmund shattered his own consciousness, scattering pieces across time to prevent Sarah from taking him whole. It worked partially. Edmund's soul had been reborn repeatedly, but always incomplete. Sarah waited through decades for enough of Edmund to be present in one person for her to complete what she'd started. David Martinez was that lifetime, the final vessel, but Edmund's desperate gambit created something unexpected: choice. David wasn't just a vessel. He was his own person with his own strength and will. I realized which one was real didn't matter. Sarah was wrong about one crucial thing. She'd assumed bringing back Edmund would give her power over me, that completing the soul binding would make me her willing prisoner like Isabel. But she miscalculated. Edmund had been fighting that night, and David had been fighting his whole life, building strength Edmund never had. Together, we were something Sarah hadn't planned for. I looked at the memorial plaque. Someone had left fresh lavender, Isabel's favorite, still damp with dew. I knew what to do. I couldn't run forever. Sarah had proven she could find me anywhere, manipulate events across decades. The only way to end this was finishing what Edmund started in 1923. But this time, I wouldn't fight alone. Isabel's presence grew stronger as the sun climbed. She wasn't gone entirely. Sarah had absorbed her life force, but consciousness isn't easily destroyed. Isabel had been hiding, waiting, growing stronger in spaces between Sarah's awareness. Like Edmund hiding between lifetimes. I stood and walked to the park center where the fountain once was. The ground felt warm, humming with energy I instinctively understood. I called Sarah. She answered immediately. "Hello, Edmund. I'm ready." Long pause. "Ready for what, darling?" "To come home. To finish this." I heard her smile. "I knew you'd see reason." "Where are you?" "Blackwood Memorial Gardens." "Where it all began." Sharp pause. Poetic. "I'll be right there." She arrived in 20 minutes, everything about her different now. Her movements were fluid, predatory. Her eyes held depths that hadn't been there before. "You look well, Edmund. The memories are settling nicely. I remember everything now. What you did. What you really are. And what am I, darling? Something old that feeds on souls like a parasite. You've been doing this for centuries, moving from host to host, consuming lives to extend your existence." She laughed. "Parasite is ugly. I prefer collector of experiences." Isabel had such rich inner life, memories of first love, artistic talents, capacity for joy. Wasteful to let that die with her flesh. Where is she now? Would you like to speak with her? Her face shifted subtly, and suddenly I was looking at Isabel herself, trapped and terrified behind her sister's eyes. "Edmund," she whispered in the voice I remembered. "Please run. She's going to do to you what she did to me. I can't bear watching it again. I'm not running this time. I'm getting you out. You can't. She's too strong. She's been feeding on me for almost 100 years. I'm barely a whisper. Please just go. Live your life." I stepped closer. "I love you, Isabel. I loved you then, and some part of me has loved you through every lifetime since. I'm not leaving you trapped." Sarah's features reasserted themselves, but not completely. Both women's faces overlapped like double exposure. "Too late, Edmund. She's mine now." "Is she?" I reached out and took Sarah's hands. Electricity shot through both of us. "Because I can feel her fighting you right now." Sarah tried pulling away, but I held on. Through our connection, I sensed the architecture of what she'd done, the complex web of stolen memories and harvested life force anchoring her to the physical world. But I also sensed cracks where Isabel's consciousness had been wearing away Sarah's control for nearly a century. "You made a mistake. You thought consuming Isabel would make you stronger, but consciousness isn't like life force. It doesn't dissolve. It adapts. survives. Isabel has been learning your weaknesses for a very long time. Sarah's eyes widened, realizing what was happening. Through our physical connection, I wasn't just accessing Edmund's memories. I was connecting directly with Isabel's consciousness, still intact within Sarah's stolen identity. Together, we were stronger than Sarah had ever been alone. Her soul-binding process worked both ways. If she could steal consciousness and life force, that same connection could drain them back, especially if the original soul fought from inside while another attacked from outside. "This is impossible," Sarah gasped as her appearance began flickering. "I've had almost a century to solidify this binding, but I felt it working." Isabel's memories flowed back to her, her stolen life force returning. As Sarah weakened, her true appearance showed, not the young woman she'd pretended to be, not even Isabel's sister from 1923, but something older and more terrible. Gray, papery skin, white, brittle hair, eyes sunk deep, becoming black pits holding centuries of accumulated hunger. "Without me, she can't survive in this world," Sarah wheezed, voice ancient and cracked. "I've kept her consciousness intact, but she has no physical form. Destroy me, destroy her too." I hesitated. Had Isabel's soul become so intertwined with Sarah's that separating them meant losing her forever? But then I felt Isabel's presence strengthen and knew Sarah was lying. Isabel had never needed Sarah. She'd been surviving despite her, fighting to maintain identity against a century of consumption. "Goodbye, Sarah." The final transfer happened instantly. Isabel's consciousness rushed back like a bursting dam, carrying not just her own stolen memories and life force, but accumulated energy Sarah had stolen from dozens of victims over centuries. All flowed through our connection, through me, into the sacred ground of Blackwood Memorial Gardens. Sarah's body collapsed like a deflated balloon, her ancient consciousness finally severed from the physical world. But I barely noticed, because Isabel stood beside me. Not in Sarah's body, not as trapped consciousness, but as herself, translucent and shimmering like morning mist, but unmistakably real. She looked exactly as she had in life, in my dreams, and when she smiled, it was like sun after a century of darkness. "Edmund, I told you I'd find a way to save you." I reached to touch her face. My hand passed through her like light and memory, but I felt her presence clearly. "You did save me. But darling, you know this isn't how it ends." She was right. I felt changes beginning as Edmund's consciousness fully integrated with David's. Memories, personality traits, experiences of both lifetimes merging into something new. Neither David Martinez nor Edmund Blackwood, but both and more. Unlike Sarah's violent harvesting, this integration felt natural, harmonious, like puzzle pieces finding proper places. What happens now? Isabel's form already began fading as the sun climbed higher. Whatever force allowed her manifestation was temporary, tied to the sacred ground and completion of the soul binding's reversal. Now you live. Take everything we've learned, suffered, and live the life we never got. What about you? She smiled radiantly. I'm free, Edmund. For the first time in almost a century, truly free. My consciousness isn't trapped or harvested or bound. I can move on to whatever comes next, complete and whole. I don't want to lose you again. You won't. I'm part of you now, part of your memories, part of who you've become. Someday, when your time comes, we'll meet again, not as victims or prisoners, but equals in whatever realm awaits us. She was almost invisible now, just whisper of light and love in morning air.